Good morning. Happy Monday as always, and welcome to week 3 of our current programming. So this week we are going to dive into challenging our global views. Last week, of course, it was psychological rules, so rules that we have about ourselves and the way that we fit in to the world and the roles that we're meant to play and all that fun stuff. I'm sure lots of emotions came up during that for some of you. This week with global views, again, a reminder, global views refer to the way that we see the world around us, the way we see groups of people, the way we see certain aspects of life and the world and how things work. So it's a very generalized viewpoint and belief system. Oftentimes, with those generalities, we have an overarching negative view on something, and then maybe we allow one or two exceptions to come into that as we get to know a specific person better, or if that's challenged in a very particular way, and then we allow the exception for that space only. Global views are helpful in the sense that they give us a framework to come at the world with. But if you remember from last week, I talked about negativity bias and how we're going to see what we look for. And if our global views have an overall negative approach or stance, if our global views stem primarily from a place of fear or from a place of anger, from a place of resentment, from a place of lack, then we're going to interact with the entire world that way. So if we can shift our global views from something that isn't helpful and is negative into something that is positive and productive and uplifting, then the way that we interact with the world, and therefore the way the world interacts with us, is going to change. Some examples of global views that I came up with are just general statements like people suck, men are liars, women are manipulative, money is the root of all evil. These are all pretty common negative global views. And we've adopted these views for a reason. At one point in our life, they served a purpose. They kept us safe. They allowed us to get through the day without falling apart. There was something that happened to us in our lives where we attached a meaning and a belief was formed, and it kept us safe when we needed it. What happens is that we don't always update these beliefs as life moves on, and so we're carrying these old, outdated belief systems, and we look at the world in a way that maybe we did when we were 10 years old and we had to look at the world that way to stay alive, to stay safe. Our survival mechanisms were kicking in and showing us where we needed to be careful. But now that we are no longer in those spaces, we can update and upgrade our belief system and give us the opportunity to come at the world from a much more empowered, enlightened, awake, and loving space. I'm going to use the example of money is the root of all evil as a global view to help you guys understand why we want to shift them. I use that one just because it's been coming up a lot lately. I've had a few conversations with people who experience just a general fear around finances. Whether they are technically financially secure or not, there tends to be a lot of anxiety in that area, or people who kind of burn through money and don't have much of a relationship with their financials at all. When we have an idea that money is the root of all evil, or rich people are selfish, or money causes corruption and manipulation and all of these things, then we're not allowing ourselves the opportunity to receive abundance in a financial form. We are much less likely to be willing to save. We're less likely to be willing to charge prices that we should if we're, running our own businesses in our own sector. We may begin to feel guilty if we start to accumulate anything. There might be general anxiety, or there might just be a lack of relationship, a lack of willingness to create a relationship with our finances based on this implicit underlying global view that we have about the world. Now, we're taught to believe this from a number of different sources. It's in the media. People talk often about the 1% and how they have all the wealth in the world and then everybody else is struggling, or whatever that looks like. And it's important to remember that money itself is just a symbol. It represents trading. It represents energy. It represents a give and a take and an ebb and a flow. There's nothing actually attached to money other than our beliefs about it. So if that's an example that we're using and someone does believe that money is the root of all evil, they have all of those issues that I just described, and then they're able to shift it so that they recognize money itself is not a problem. Perhaps the way that some people use it, the way that some people use it as a power trip, or the way that some people use it to manipulate others, to manipulate systems, to cause corruption, whatever. Those things, yes, they happen, absolutely, but money has nothing to do with it. And then it creates this belief and this safety where I could say, I deserve to be abundant, or I am worthy. Worthy is a better word than deserve. I am worthy of abundance and financial security. So then it opens that kind of energetic pathway and that pathway in our minds, which allows us to receive financial abundance. It allows us to work with that financial abundance in a new way so that we can save, or we can pay off debt, or we can just feel secure even if the number in the bank hasn't changed. It's just different ways of looking at it. Another really good example is people can't be trusted. That's a very common global view. We've all had our trust broken. Every single person on the face of the planet at some point or another has felt betrayed somewhere along the lines. It doesn't matter if it happened when you were 3, when you were 30, or when you were 60. It hurts and it's hard to cope with. When it happens and then we create a wall and we believe that everyone around us is untrustworthy, we actually start to self-sabotage. We ruin relationships that could be really beneficial and positive and uplifting because we're not willing to upgrade our belief to allow people in. So there's a lot of kind of negative aspects to this global belief if we're looking at the world from a place of lack and scarcity and fear. That being said, similarly to last week, when we were looking at our beliefs about ourselves and how we fit into the world, now we're looking at the world and the way that we perceive it's going to treat us. So what we need to do is identify what beliefs we have, what global views we have about the world and how it works, and figure out how we can start to shift them and challenge them. So again, journal prompts. You guys are going to be so sick of me. The first thing that we're going to dive into is what happened that you created this belief from. So if your belief is people cannot be trusted, what is your earliest or most vivid memory of your trust being broken? What experience did you have where you felt betrayed or hurt, or that you weren't respected, that your trust wasn't respected? And with that, what meaning did you attach to it? Because we only create beliefs from the meanings that we give an experience. So your trust was broken as a child by a really good friend, and it hurt. You know, this person went and told a secret that you said don't tell anybody, and then they told a bunch of your other friends. The meaning that you attach to that could be, oh, I can't tell my secrets. I can't trust people. And that becomes a belief. Over time, those attached meanings become the belief. So going in and identifying that, and you may not find the absolute original cause, but you're just going to go in and see, where was it that this happened, that I attached a meaning and created a belief. Then what you're going to do is ask yourself, where else in your life has this shown up? Where has this created problems? Where has this hurt relationships? Where has this hurt yourself, you? Your relationship with yourself, the way that you live, the way that you see yourself and others. So if it's that trust again, okay, so you told a friend a secret and they told others, it really hurt, and you attached the meaning that people can't be trusted, and that became your belief. You cannot trust people. You cannot tell secrets. You cannot be honest. You can't be vulnerable because it'll get everywhere. How many times in your life has that experience prevented you from having a genuine connection with someone who very well could have been someone that you could trust and connect with and relate to? Was it something that came up in romantic relationships? Have you always had a difficult time making friends since that experience? Does it show up in your family dynamics? Where is this presenting itself in your life currently or in the past that makes it an ongoing discomfort or an ongoing problem? So we just want to identify what happened, what belief it set, and where it is still showing up. And for your first journaling entry, I'm going to say that's going to be it. Just identify, acknowledge, and sit with it in a space of non-judgment. So we're going back to that non-judgment and that acceptance. It's just awareness. Awareness, awareness, awareness. It's always, always key. Give it some time. Let yourself sit with that, feel that. Okay, this is where this is coming from. I see why I feel that way. Given that experience, this makes sense. And just allow yourself to see that it's there and not to judge yourself for having it because it was there for a reason. And then the next journaling prompt, which maybe you could do a day or so later, it doesn't all have to be back to back because these can take up a fair bit of time. The next thing you're going to do is go in and ask yourself, what evidence do you have for this experience and what evidence do you have against it? So it's important to have an honest view. So you don't want to just go and paint this rosy picture that maybe doesn't exist. You want to acknowledge in the past where you have been hurt. But you also want to acknowledge all of the times that people have shown you that they are trustworthy. With this negative bias, we are going to cling. Our brain naturally, its survival instinct is to cling to the negative experiences. We want to see those above the positive experiences because we think it will keep us safer. But really, it just cuts off connection. And it creates an instability rather than a resilience within us. So where have people shown you that they are trustworthy? Again, in that example. Where have people been honest? Where have people respected you and your space? And where have people kept your secrets or what you shared with them in confidence? Where has that worked for you and how did that feel? And if you want to go a step further, when you're looking at the experiences of where did people break your trust, you can actually check in with yourself. What led up to that? How did I feel about it beforehand? Was there some kind of intuitive inkling that maybe that wasn't the person that you wanted to trust? Because there's usually signs if we look enough. And when we identify those signs, going forward, we'll see them and we'll honor them. And rather than getting into situations with people that our intuition is telling us maybe to take a step back from, well, we'll actually listen to the intuition and we will take the step back rather than diving in and convincing ourselves that we're just being paranoid. So really it's about connecting with ourselves again, of course. It's always about connecting with ourselves. So again, we're going to sink into the evidence aspect of it and the feelings around that. How does it feel when you do trust people? How does it feel when you open up to the right people, to the people that you know are trustworthy? And what signals does your body give you when you're going into a situation that you're not comfortable? How can you listen to that, but not allow fear to get in the way? It's a difficult balance sometimes. But finally, the last task on that is to create a new liberating belief around that. So if your belief is that people can't be trusted, you can change that. You can flip it on its head and change it to people are generally trustworthy, which honestly, for the most part, they really are. And if you believe that, you start to see it a lot more in the world. You could, if that's too much of a stretch for you, you can switch it to something that I meet more trustworthy people every day. So you're allowing for the change to happen. You're allowing for your mind to adapt to this new idea that people are trustworthy and that they're not all out to get you. At the same time as giving yourself space to not jump completely into something that's not believable. You don't want to create a new belief that you can't believe. You want to find a way to adapt it so that moving forward it gets integrated into your life and into your mind. A really good one is with people who have maybe chronic health issues. You don't want to go from I'm a sick person to I'm perfectly healthy, because you're not going to believe that. It's not going to resonate. But your new belief could be every day I take new actions to make myself healthier. Every day I get 1% healthier than I was yesterday because every day I make one choice to make my body healthy. Okay, so of course I'll have all this typed out for you so that you don't have to rewatch it 30 times to get all of the questions. But that is global views. What we want to do at the end of the day is identify where we have a negative bias towards the world around us and shift it. Because what we shift within, we shift without. If we can change our internal landscape and perspective, the way we see the world will change, and the way the world interacts with us back will also change, and it will create a more uplifting, positive experience overall. I hope you guys have an awesome week, and I'm excited to keep hearing what everyone is learning. Keep up the good work, and please, 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 please get a hold of me if you need some extra support on all this.